If you're watching this video, then you probably already know that you are a soul, an eternal being, and that you have incarnated here on Earth for this lifetime to have a human experience. But there is more to it than that, and that is why the question, who am I, is so difficult to answer, because you are not just one being, you're not just a soul. While you are incarnated on Earth, you exist of multiple beings at the same time. So you're not an I, you're a we. At least while you are down here, and it's really important to understand which beings you are comprised of, because this makes clear, for example, where the trauma is and which being it is, and how to work with it, and where the thoughts come from, and all of this. So it's really crucial to know what you are made of here on Earth, and this is exactly what I'm going to explain in this video. So there we go. I'm going to start with the easiest one, the physical body. You know that the body is kind of the vessel that you are a soul that is not made of material things. You are and you use the body to have this human experience. But the body isn't just a thing. It isn't just a vessel. It is a life on its own. It has a consciousness of its own. So the body is a being. And this may sound weird, but think about it. When you have a cut, for example, you have a wound, it heals on its own. You don't have to do anything for it, but it's not on its own. It's the body, it's the consciousness of the body that knows how to heal, it knows how to grow, it knows how to digest, and all of these things. So the body is a living being, and it is one of the beings that you are a part of. You are, it's called the human avatar, because yeah, we're down here, we're all avatars. We're not just souls, we get an avatar which is comprised of all these beings, and so the body is one of them. And what's really cool is because a body has its own consciousness, you can communicate with it. And one of the best ways to try this out, if you're doing a yoga pose, a stretch, and it's hurting because yeah, stretches are so painful. And so you feel the pain, and it's annoying because you want to do this, it's good for your body, but then you feel the pain. So at that moment, you can, in your thoughts, talk to your body and say, I get why you are sending me pain signals. You want to warn me there is something wrong here, but I'm doing this to for the benefit of both of us, to improve you. So this stretch is a good thing. So please, if you don't mind, dim down the pain. And you'll see that the body responds, and this is so cool. This is really magic. So the body will, if it has some trust in you, but that should be fine, it will dim down the pain. And that's, yeah, because you need proof for these things, because how can your body be alive? But once that you start feeling those things, you start to really trust, okay, the body is a separate consciousness, and the body is yours. It's yours to use to yeah, it is assigned to you. It's part of your human avatar. So the body is you in a way, but it is obviously not a soul. So it's a separate being that you are intertwined with while you are on Earth. I once read somewhere the body being described as a what's the word? As an elemental. And I find this a really cool description. I'm not really into the elementals, so I'm not so sure what they are, but as I understood it, it's like the fairies and the gnomes, all of these things that we can't see, but they are there, and they're kind of part of Mother Earth. They're part of her consciousness, but they are separate beings. And it's the same for the body. So the body is a part of Mother Earth, and this is a fact, but it is also a separate being. So it's like we are a part of Source, but we're separate. The body is an elemental, a small part of the earth that lives on its own as a separate being. I like it. I like to think of my body as an elemental, like I'm living inside of a fairy. And then on to the next being, which is more complex. Oh no, let's do the soul first, because the soul is pretty easy. So the next being, which is part of this human avatar, is the incarnated soul. So the soul is eternal. It has lived many lives. It's going to live many lives. In between lives, it takes breaks in heaven. So you are the incarnated soul here on Earth. But what does the incarnated mean? It means that a soul is a big thing. and it doesn't fit in a body. So the soul fragments in the different dimensions. And in this earth dimension, this 3D dimension, a small fragment of the soul incarnates here in this body. So your incarnated soul is a small fragment of your total soul, of your over soul. So you are made up of the soul. The incarnated soul is a separate being, but it is part of a bigger soul, and this is the higher self. This bigger soul, all these different fragments in the different dimensions, and then the oversoul up in heaven. So these are also beings that you are connected to. When you're incarnated, it's only the incarnated part which is here, but it's still connected to these different soul parts. So this is part of why the who am I question is so difficult, because yes, you are the incarnated soul, but you are also the totality of your soul. So it's not just this part, which is already so difficult to understand because we don't have the memories of being a soul, but it's also that part which is so big, which is even harder to understand. But anyway, so part of your human avatar is the physical body, is the incarnated soul linked to the bigger soul. And the third one, this is the hardest part. The third being, which is part of the human avatar, is the ego. The ego. And you've no doubt that you have heard that we have to kill the ego, or we have to get rid of the ego, or it's like the ego is the enemy. Don't kill the ego, poor thing. The ego really is a separate being. And it is, yeah, we want to be enlightened, and we want to pretend like we have no ego anymore, but this is not true. We cannot be on earth, we cannot be incarnated in this physical body without an ego. No matter how enlightened we are going to be, we will always have an ego, and we need it. Because an ego is what sets us apart, what makes us unique. And the easiest way to understand this is if you understand what happens after you die. Sophia Persephone, which I really like, has a separate video which I'll link, which explains this much better, but I'm going to give you the very short summary. So when you die, your spirit leaves the body goes back to the earth, and the spirit and the soul are different things. So the soul leaves the body and the spirit leaves the body. And the soul goes to heaven to rest, and then it goes to incarnate in new lives, and it keeps going. But the spirit is the ego for most of it. It is the ego mixed with the soul a bit. I don't really understand how it can be mixed with the soul when the soul goes on, but anyway, it is the ego mixed with the soul. And the spirit, this lifetime that you're living is the first lifetime of this spirit, this unique spirit that you are. And the spirit is unique because it is a combination of the soul with the ego. And this ego is, yeah, it's you right now. And this is the only version of you that exists. So the spirit will not incarnate again. It is not going to live other lives. This lifetime really is the end. So it's pretty cool because in a way, yes, reincarnation is true, souls reincarnate, but it's also true that you die and just go to heaven, because that's what the spirit does. When it dies, it goes to heaven, and it has a fun eternal life there. Because you know, as a soul, you chose your life, and you know which lessons you wanted to learn here, and blah blah blah. But as a spirit, you come into this world totally oblivious, and you haven't chosen anything. You are just created as part of the human avatar so that the soul can have this experience. So the spirit or the ego didn't have a choice in any of this. So the reward for the spirit is that it can have a fun life afterwards. It doesn't have to incarnate anymore. So this is the third being that you are made of, the ego, the human ego. And it gets more complex because the ego in itself is split into different beings. And this is, you know, what they say, as above, so below. This is also how source works. So you have, I'm going to explain first how source works, and then you'll understand how the ego works. So you have this saying that we're all one. And what they mean by this is that we all are a part of Source, because Source is the big consciousness of our universe, and it has split into different subconsciousnesses, and then they have split, and that's how you get separate souls, because Source is split into different souls, and then these souls fragment into different pieces, and we are one of those pieces. So all of the universe is made up of things that fragment, and also the ego. So the ego, just like Source exists. Source has a name. Her name is Athena. The ego exists. It has a name. It's your human name. My name is Anne. The name of my ego is Anne in this lifetime. And so Anne is my ego, or it's actually Anneke, because that's the name I had when I was younger, but let's not confuse things. So my ego is named Anneke. But she is also split, just like Source. She is split into different beings. And all of these beings together make her, but she's also a separate being. Complex stuff. And these beings, why does the ego split? Because of trauma. Every time that something happens that is really, really tough, that we cannot really bear, the ego, part of the ego consciousness, or of the ego is not really a consciousness, part of the ego being splits off into another being, which will carry this trauma for you or for her, for the ego, because it's too difficult for one being to carry all of this. So we're split into many beings, all with their own little or big traumas. And these are what I call inner beings, because they live inside of us and they carry all of the pain. So what we want to do, we do not want to kill the ego and all of these poor inner beings that have worked so hard for us, that are carrying all of this trauma. We want to love them, and we want to heal them with our love, and we want to listen to their pain for the first time, finally, instead of shutting them down and pushing them away. We want to make them surface, love them, listen to them, and heal them. And this is how you heal trauma, which is really my thing, and that's why I'm talking about it now. It's not really relevant of what you are, but this is actually why I find it so important to know what you are, which beings you are made of, because then you know, okay, the trauma is in the ego and in the different inner beings that the ego is split into. So if you want to heal trauma, that's where it is. And this is very useful, for example, if you are healing trauma and fear surfaces, you're very afraid of something, then you can take this view of, okay, I am the ego. The ego is just part of who I am right now, but I'm also the soul, a different being. And as a soul, the soul has no fear, because it has lived so many lives. It knows that if it dies, it just goes to heaven and lives another life. It doesn't matter. None of it matters. The soul knows this. So if you look at this fear, at this inner being that is so afraid because it has this trauma, from a soul perspective, you can take a distance and you can say, understand that you're afraid, but it's not you that is afraid anymore, because right now you are the soul. And you look at an inner being which is being afraid, or which is being angry, or which is being sad. And you acknowledge the feelings. You will say, feel them, move your body, scream, do whatever, and release them. So you acknowledge the feelings, you feel the feelings, but you know that they are not really you when you are looking at yourself as being the soul. They belong to the inner being. And this really helps in healing, because this makes you take a distance from the trauma. If you are too caught up in this trauma, then the fear is overwhelming, the anger is overwhelming, the sadness is overwhelming. But if you look at it from the observer view, from the soul view, it's all much easier. So that's one reason why it's so important to know this. And also just because knowledge is important here. We get born on Earth, and it's such a mess. It's so confusing. Earth's a really difficult environment, so this is also something to know. When you're a light worker or a soul seed, you already know that you're an evolved soul, that you're an old soul. But the truth is, everyone on Earth is an old soul. Every human being, also the ones that have lived so many lives here. Because Earth is so difficult, new souls are not sent to Earth. that would be killing. It's hard enough for us. So my point here being the question, who am I, is really difficult to answer on Earth, because you are a combination of different beings. You are the physical body, or at least closely connected to the physical body. You are the eternal soul, and you also are the ego, which is carrying so much trauma, so much confusion, so much programming. But when you notice that these are separate things, that you don't have to kill the ego, very important, don't kill the ego. When you know that you can take the soul perspective and heal the ego, and that is how you heal trauma, that makes it all different and cool. And I have made a separate video on what I call the inner being method, which is how do you help and heal your inner beings, and I will link that down below. I hope this explanation was useful. It wasn't too confusing, because all of this is pretty mind-blowing and pretty confusing. But yeah, I hope it made some things clear to you. Give me a like if you liked it, follow the channel, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.